Found out my fiancée cheated during her bachelorette party in Miami. I just wanted to feel free one last time, she said. So I freed her for good, canceled the wedding, and sent her an eviction notice. Her friends defended her, and now she's asking for the wedding money back. Hey everyone! Before we jump into today's video, I need your help. We've noticed the channel is losing some traction, and subscribing is one of the best ways you can support us. It's quick, free, and it helps us keep bringing you awesome content. Your support means the world. Let's keep this channel growing together. Thanks so much. Now let's start the video. Hey Reddit, 3 weeks before my wedding, someone sent me photos of my fiancée cheating during her bachelorette party in Miami. When I confronted her, she said she just wanted to feel free, said it was no big deal, and that it was just physical. The worst part? Her mom and her friends defended her and called me a monster for destroying her life over one mistake. Here's what went down. I, 29 male, met Molly, 27 female, through mutual friends at some random house party back in college. You know how it goes. She was cute, I was slightly less awkward than usual, and somehow we ended up talking for like 3 hours about random stuff. Fast forward almost 5 years and I'm thinking I've got my life figured out. Good job as an animator making decent money, nice 2-bedroom apartment in my name only, thank God, and what I thought was a solid relationship. Molly and I had been living together for about 2 years. She moved into my place after her lease was up, and honestly, it was convenient. Split utilities 70-30 since I made more. She handled most of the cooking because let's be real, my culinary skills peaked at grilled cheese and protein shakes. We had our routines down. Sunday morning gym sessions where I'd actually lift while she did 20 minutes on the elliptical and took selfies. Thursday night takeout and Netflix, the whole domestic thing. I actually liked it. Thought we were building something real. My best friend Brian thought I was moving too fast. He'd always point out how Molly would leave me to clean up after her when we had people over, or how she'd act like she owned the place without paying half the rent. Brian's been my boy since college. He's one of those guys who sees through everyone's nonsense and isn't afraid to call it out. We met freshman year when he caught me trying to impress some girl by pretending I knew about wine. He saved me from complete humiliation, and we've been tight ever since. Some people think he's too blunt, but I've learned he's usually right about people. The proposal happened last year at her favorite hiking spot, about an hour outside the city. She cried, said yes, posted the ring selfie within like 10 minutes. Her engagement ring game was strong on social media, I'll give her that. Got like 200 likes in the first hour. Wedding planning was mostly her thing, but I was writing the checks. The venue was this place about an hour outside the city. Nice enough, but not ridiculous. Some barn-style place that charged premium prices for the rustic charm experience. We're talking maybe 120 people, open bar, decent DJ who charged extra for requests. Total cost was pushing close to $20,000, which honestly made my stomach hurt a little, especially since I was covering about 80% of it. Everyone kept saying it was a once-in-a-lifetime event, and Molly's Pinterest board had somehow turned into a legal document of non-negotiable requirements. Molly's friend group was always a little intense. Her college roommate Lex was the maid of honor, one of those girls who thinks being brutally honest is a personality trait. Lex worked in marketing for some startup that sold overpriced smoothie bowls and acted like she was changing the world. Brian met her at our engagement party and immediately texted me, "Lex looks like she eats men's souls for breakfast and still asks for the manager." Then there was Ivy, who worked in PR. Bree from her yoga studio, who was obsessed with crystals and manifesting stuff. She once tried to sell me a $150 rock that would align my chakras. Jess from work, who complained about everything from the office temperature to her student loans. And Zoe. Zoe was the only one I actually liked. She was Molly's friend from high school, down to earth, had a real job in nursing at the county hospital, wasn't constantly creating drama or trying to MLM scheme everyone she met. She was the only one in the group who seemed to have her life together and could hold a conversation without mentioning Instagram followers or manifesting abundance. 3 weeks before the wedding, everything was locked in. My groomsmen had their tuxes from Men's Warehouse, her bridesmaids were doing whatever bridesmaids do with their matching robes and champagne flutes, and I was actually getting excited. I'd taken 2 weeks off work for the wedding and honeymoon, using up basically all my PTO for the year. We were supposed to go to Costa Rica, ziplining, beaches, some eco-resort that cost more per night than my rent. I'd been hitting the gym extra hard for months because, honeymoon bod and all that. There were definitely signs I missed. Molly had been acting weird the past month, spending more time on her phone, being secretive about her screen. She'd angle it away from me when texting, or quickly switch apps when I walked into the room. When I'd ask what was funny or who she was texting, She'd get defensive and say it was just girl stuff or wedding planning drama. She'd also been picking fights about stupid things, like whether we needed cloth napkins or paper ones at the reception, or if the groomsmen ties were the wrong shade of navy. Friday morning, I drove Molly to the airport in my Jeep, which she'd been borrowing more and more often since her Honda was having transmission issues. Her crew was meeting at the airport, Lex flying in from Phoenix where she'd moved for some marketing gig. The other 4 girls were local. They'd rented some Airbnb near South Beach through Ivy's connections. I kissed her goodbye and told her to have fun. Another one of those things that hits different looking back. She was wearing these designer sunglasses I'd bought her for her birthday, and looked like she was heading to some fashion week event rather than a casual girls' trip. That weekend was actually pretty solid for me. Called up Brian, and we hit Top Golf Saturday afternoon. Ordered way too much food. Wings, loaded nachos, those overpriced sliders, had a few drinks, talked about the wedding, work drama, the usual stuff. Brian made jokes about hoping Molly's bachelorette party was boring and responsible, full of spa treatments and early bedtimes. Saturday night, Brian and I stayed in, played some Call of Duty online with our usual crew, living the bachelor life one last time, staying up until 2 a.m., getting destroyed by some kid from Ohio who was probably half my age. Brian kept commenting about enjoying the peace and quiet while it lasted, how marriage would change everything. Sunday, I did some last-minute wedding stuff that Molly had delegated to me. Molly was supposed to land around 8 p.m., so I figured I'd surprise her with dinner from her favorite Thai place downtown. She texted when she landed, saying the girls were exhausted, and she was just going to crash. Fair enough. Miami parties are probably brutal when you're almost 30. I asked how the trip was, and she said amazing with like 15 emojis. Her Instagram stories were the usual stuff. Group shots at the beach with everyone posing like they were modeling swimwear. Fancy drinks with umbrellas that probably cost $15 each. Everyone looking perfect in their bikinis with Valencia filters. Nothing seemed off. Just typical girl trip content. Monday, she was back to normal, or what I thought was normal. A little tired, said they stayed up too late every night partying, but that's what bachelorette trips are for, right? She unpacked while I was at work debugging some animation sequences that had been driving me crazy all week. Did laundry, got back into our routine of her pretending to care about my day while scrolling through her phone. We talked about the trip for maybe 10 minutes total. Wednesday morning, everything changed. I was at my desk around 10 a.m., responding to emails from our project manager when I got a text from Zoe. We'd exchanged numbers at some wedding event, but we never really texted outside of group chats about dinner plans or birthday parties. She said it was important and asked me to call her when I had a chance. I figured it was about the wedding, maybe some bridesmaid drama I'd have to help Molly navigate. Her friend group was always having some crisis about who said what to whom. When I called her back around lunch, stepping outside the office building for privacy, her voice was shaky. She told me Molly had hooked up with some guy multiple times, that she'd tried to stop her, but Molly wouldn't listen. She couldn't keep pretending like it didn't happen, couldn't let me walk down the aisle without knowing the truth. The way she said it, I could tell this was eating her up inside. The details hit like a freight train. Saturday night at some pool party at their hotel, Molly met this guy Troy, who was apparently some finance bro from Miami, with a boat and way too much confidence. They were all over each other from the start, making out in the pool while people took photos. Zoe tried to stop her, reminded her about the wedding, but Molly said she needed to have some fun before she got married. They went back to his hotel room Saturday night and didn't come back until Sunday afternoon. Zoe had photos. Sunday morning, Molly was bragging about it to Ivy and Bree over brunch, describing Troy like he was some kind of prize she'd won. They were all laughing about it, saying what I didn't know wouldn't hurt me. Lex even said something about how I'd probably never find out anyway. 5 minutes later, my phone buzzed with a series of photos that made my stomach drop. Molly in a bikini I'd never seen before, probably bought specifically for this trip, straddling that guy in a hotel pool. Molly making out with him in a cabana while other people partied around them. Molly grinding on him at some nightclub like they were teenagers at prom, her hands all over him while he grabbed her ass. Zoe's text explained everything. She couldn't let me marry Molly without knowing, despite their friendship. Molly had been acting like it was no big deal, telling Lex it was just getting her wild phase out of her system before settling down. Like I was some consolation prize she was accepting after having her fun. Zoe's follow-up text revealed the worst part. Molly had told her friends I was what she was settling for after getting tired of having fun. Our 5-year relationship was just her backup plan, while she figured out what she really wanted. I spent the rest of the day trying to focus on work, but failing completely. Every time I looked at my phone, I expected to see some text from Molly acting like everything was normal. And that's exactly what I got. Around 3 p.m., she sent me a selfie from some coffee shop downtown. Missing you, babe? Can't wait to be your wife in 12 days? 12 days. We were supposed to get married in 12 days to celebrate her getting her cheating out of her system. I left work early and met Brian at a sports bar near my apartment. I needed liquid courage for what was about to happen, and I needed my best friend there for moral support. The place was mostly empty since it was a weekday afternoon, just us and a few day drinkers watching baseball. We talked about the confrontation over drinks, show her the photos and see how far she's willing to lie. Brian bet $20 she'd blame it on being drunk. Easy money, considering Molly's track record of avoiding responsibility for anything. I got home around 6 p.m. Molly was in the kitchen making dinner. She was wearing one of my old college t-shirts and had her hair up in a messy bun, looking like the picture of domestic innocence. She looked so normal, so innocent, that for a second I wondered if Zoe had made the whole thing up. She gave me a kiss on the cheek, said she was making my favorite meal, and wanted to finalize the seating chart that had been giving her anxiety for weeks. I sat at the kitchen table and watched her cook. She was humming some song, completely relaxed, acting like she hadn't spent the weekend with another guy. I started probing about her day, then casually asked if there was anything else she wanted to tell me about Miami. When she played dumb, I pulled out my phone and showed her the first photo, her straddling Troy in the pool. Her face changed completely. First shock, then panic, then something I'd never seen before, pure rage. She demanded to know where I got the photo, who sent it to me. When I said someone who cared more about me than she apparently did, she went cold. It's not what it looks like. Really? Because it looks exactly what it looks like. We were just having fun. It didn't mean anything. Fun? You call this fun? I showed her another photo. Look, I was drunk, okay? It was stupid, but it's over now. Can we just move past this? Move past this? Molly, we're getting married in 12 days. Exactly. Which is why this doesn't matter. It was just physical. I got it out of my system. The casual way she said it, like getting another guy out of her system was just part of wedding prep, like getting her nails done. You spent the night with him. Multiple nights. How do you even know that? Are you stalking me now? I know everything. The question is, are you going to keep lying to my face? She threw the wooden spoon into the sink. Fine. Yes, I hooked up with Troy, but it was just physical. It didn't mean anything emotional. You're acting like I fell in love with the guy. Oh, well, in that case, let me just cancel my feelings about my fiancé screwing another guy 2 weeks before our wedding. Don't be sarcastic. This is serious. You're right. It is serious. The wedding's off. What? Are you serious? Over this? Over this? Molly, you cheated on me for 3 days. It was just a weekend. God, you're being so dramatic. Everyone hooks up at bachelor parties. It's like tradition. No, everyone doesn't cheat at bachelor parties. That's not tradition. That's you justifying being a cheater. I'm not a cheater. I made one mistake and you're destroying our entire relationship over it? I'm not destroying anything. You already did that. This is insane. You're insane. We have 120 people coming to our wedding. Had. Past tense. And you should have thought about that before you decided to cheat. I can't believe you're being this petty. It meant nothing. If it meant nothing, why did you do it? Because I wanted to feel free one last time before I got married, okay? Is that so wrong? There it was. The truth. Marriage to me was a prison sentence she needed one last taste of freedom before accepting. Pack your stuff. You'll need to find somewhere else to stay. Excuse me? This is my home too. No, it's not. It's my apartment, my lease, my security deposit. You just live here. This is ridiculous. You're being cruel and vindictive. I'm being practical. I'm not going to live with someone who cheats on me. It was one weekend. One weekend where you made multiple choices to betray me. Get out of my kitchen. I'm not going anywhere. This is my home and you can't make me leave. We'll see about that. That night, Molly's phone was blowing up with calls. Around 10 p.m., my phone rang from an unknown number. Some woman immediately started screaming at me. How dare you treat my daughter this way? Who do you think you are? It was Rita, Molly's mother. I think I'm someone who doesn't want to marry a cheater. She made one tiny mistake and you're destroying her life. She's been crying for hours because of what you're putting her through. She should have cried before she decided to cheat. You're a cruel, heartless man. Molly deserves so much better than you. You're right. She deserves someone who's okay with cheating. That's not me. Rita hung up on me. 20 minutes later, Molly came out of the bedroom looking smug. My mom's getting us a lawyer. You can't just throw me out and humiliate me like this. Your mom can get whoever she wants. Still doesn't change the fact that you cheated. This isn't over. Yeah, it is. The next morning, I went to see a lawyer, with Brian riding shotgun for moral support. The law office was in one of those downtown buildings with marble lobbies and expensive art. Turns out, Molly was technically a tenant since she'd been living there for over a year and had mail delivered to the address. I couldn't just throw her stuff on the lawn, but I could serve her with a formal eviction notice, giving her 30 days to vacate. This is going to be the longest month of your life, Brian said as we left the lawyer's office, but also probably the most satisfying. The process cost me $600 in legal fees just to get the paperwork done right, but it was worth it to do everything by the book. I had the papers drawn up and served to her that afternoon by some guy who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. She was watching Netflix when the process server knocked, probably some reality show about people with worse judgment than hers. She couldn't believe I was being this petty. I explained I was following the law, exercising my rights as the leaseholder. When she asked where she was supposed to go, I told her that wasn't my problem. You're really going to make me homeless over one mistake? You're not going to be homeless. You're going to find a new place to live, like an adult. I can't believe how vindictive you're being. This is emotional abuse. No, this is consequences. My friends are right about you. You're a controlling psychopath. Your friends defended you cheating. Maybe get better friends. The next 30 days were the most satisfying month of my life. I treated Molly like she was invisible. When she tried to talk to me, I'd put in AirPods or leave the room. When she cooked dinner, I'd order takeout from her least favorite places and eat it in my bedroom while watching Netflix. Brian would check on me every few days and provide commentary. "How's our resident cheater doing?" he'd ask. When I'd update him on her latest breakdown, he'd respond with gems like, "Ah yes, the consequences of her own actions. Nature is healing." I documented everything in a Google Doc that became my obsession. Every conversation, every interaction, every time she left dirty dishes or didn't clean up after herself. I was building a case in case she tried to fight the eviction, complete with timestamps and photos. After about a week, she started having tantrums that would make a toddler proud. Slamming doors, throwing things, screaming at me when I ignored her. I recorded these episodes on my phone, building a library of evidence that she was unstable. By day 10, I had hours of footage of her acting completely unhinged. I deserve better than this silent treatment. I said I was sorry. She hadn't actually said she was sorry, but I wasn't going to correct her. You can't ignore me forever. We live in the same apartment. Only for 3 more weeks. This is insane. Normal people work through relationship problems. Normal people don't cheat on their fiancés. I can't believe you're throwing away 5 years over one weekend. You already did that. Meanwhile, my phone was blowing up with messages from Lex. Long texts about how I was destroying an innocent girl's life over nothing. How Molly was devastated and didn't deserve this treatment. How I was being cruel and unusual and making a huge mistake. "She made one mistake and you're acting like she murdered someone," one text read. "Molly is a good person who made a tiny error in judgment and you're ruining her life because your ego is bruised. You're never going to find someone as good as Molly. She's going to realize she dodged a bullet. Real men forgive their women for minor indiscretions. You're just proving you were never mature enough for marriage." I screenshot all of them and sent them to Brian, who responded with laughing emojis. One night, she cried in the hallway outside my bedroom, asking why I was being so cruel. I opened the door just enough to see her face and explained the difference between being cruel and being indifferent. She claimed she'd said she was sorry, but that was a lie. She'd said it didn't mean anything, not the same as being sorry. When she finally offered a real apology, I told her it was too late. Some things can't be fixed. She slept on the couch for 3 weeks because I'd changed the bedroom locks using a smart lock I ordered on Amazon. I'd wake up some mornings and find her passed out there, still in her clothes from the day before, surrounded by empty bottles and used tissues, like some kind of pathetic art installation. Around day 15, she got desperate. She'd ambush me when I came home from work, trying to force conversations about our relationship. When I'd ignore her, she'd follow me around the apartment, talking to my back like I was listening. "You know you still love me. You know we can work through this if you just stop being so stubborn. I paid for this apartment for 2 years. That has to count for something legally. Your precious Zoe isn't going to want you. She's just using you to get back at me. This is all her fault anyway. She's the one who ruined everything by telling you." One night while I was making dinner, she went through her whole routine about how I still loved her and we could work through this. When she demanded I say something, anything, I turned around and told her she had 15 days left. That's when she really started losing it. She began breaking things. First, just slamming doors so hard the frames cracked, then accidentally knocking over a lamp, then throwing a plate at the wall during a meltdown. Each time, I calmly cleaned up the mess and added the cost to a spreadsheet I was keeping. I also took photos and added them to my growing evidence file. Brian came over after one particularly bad episode where she'd punched a hole in the bathroom door. Wow, he said, examining the damage. She's really going full Incredible Hulk. Should I start calling her Bruce? By day 20, I had documented over $650 in property damage. More importantly, I had proof she was being destructive, which gave me grounds to accelerate the eviction process. I gave her a choice: find a place and leave voluntarily by that weekend, or I'd file for immediate eviction based on property damage. When she tried to deny punching holes in walls, I showed her the photo evidence complete with timestamps. She agreed to be out by Saturday. Meanwhile, Lex had escalated her text harassment campaign. "You're a sociopath who gets off on torturing women. I hope you're happy destroying someone who loved you." Brian decided he'd had enough of Lex's commentary. "You know what Lex's problem is?" he said one night, while we were documenting Molly's latest tantrum. "She's never faced consequences for being a terrible person. Time to change that." He'd noticed Lex had been dating some gym guy named Kyle for about 6 months. Kyle posted constant gym selfies and seemed like the type who'd have strong opinions about loyalty. Saturday morning, Molly started packing her stuff into boxes she'd gotten from the liquor store down the street. She'd found a place across town, some apartment share with a girl from Craigslist who probably had no idea what she was getting into. Not exactly the lifestyle she was used to, but that wasn't my problem. Around noon, I texted Zoe about coming over for dinner while Molly moved out. Zoe was hesitant about the timing, but I assured her it would be fun. Zoe showed up around 6 p.m., just as Molly was loading the last boxes into a U-Haul truck she'd rented. I gave Zoe a hug that lasted just a little too long, thanked her for coming over. Zoe played along perfectly, saying thanks for the invitation. Molly appeared in the doorway with a box, staring at us like she'd seen a ghost. She dropped the box, and something broke inside it. "What the hell is she doing here?" "Zoe's joining me for dinner." Seemed like the perfect night for it. Molly looked at Zoe with pure hatred. "You conniving little snake, you ruined my entire life." "I didn't ruin anything," Zoe said calmly. "I just told the truth." "The truth? You betrayed me. I trusted you. You trusted me to watch you cheat on your fiancé and keep quiet about it. That's not friendship. That's being an accomplice. I told you it was none of your business. Actually, it became my business when you expected me to lie for you at your wedding." Molly looked between us, her brain clearly struggling to process what was happening. Are you together now?" "We're very good friends," I said. "This is sick. You're both sick." "We're not the ones who cheated," Zoe replied. That's when Molly completely lost it. She started screaming at both of us, calling Zoe every name in the book and telling me I was a psychopath for torturing her for the past month. "You want to know the truth?" she screamed. "Troy was better than you. He was better in bed. He was more fun. He was everything you're not. He had a boat." "Cool story," I said. "Maybe you should call him. I heard he's single. He actually has money, not like you with your stupid cartoons and your cheap apartment. Those stupid cartoons paid for your lifestyle for 2 years. You're welcome. I should have cheated on you years ago. I wasted the best years of my life on you. Well, now you're free to waste someone else's time." She grabbed our vacation picture from last year and hurled it at the wall. Glass exploded everywhere. "Feel better?" I asked. "I hate you. I hate both of you." "The feeling's mutual," Zoe said sweetly. Then she stormed out, leaving her U-Haul truck and half her stuff behind. Through the window, we watched her peel out of the parking lot like she was in a Fast and Furious movie. Zoe and I ordered pizza and spent the evening cleaning up Molly's final mess. When Zoe asked if we'd gone too far, I told her we'd gone exactly far enough. Around 10 p.m., Brian texted, "Mission accomplished." Kyle saw the screenshots and dumped Lex an hour ago. She's currently posting cryptic Instagram stories about fake people and betrayal. It's beautiful. Zoe asked about the screenshots. I explained that Brian had sent Lex's boyfriend all her text messages, defending cheating and calling me a psychopath. Apparently, Kyle had strong feelings about loyalty and didn't appreciate his girlfriend defending adultery. "That's amazing," Zoe said, laughing. "Lex spent weeks telling everyone that cheating is normal." I guess her boyfriend disagreed. What goes around comes around. Brian showed up 20 minutes later with drinks to celebrate. "Ladies and gentlemen," he announced, "Lex is currently having her own meltdown in her car outside Kyle's apartment. My work here is done. She's like the gift that keeps on giving," I said. "First she defends cheating, then gets dumped for defending cheating." "It's like watching a nature documentary," Brian replied. "Behold, the consequences of terrible life choices in their natural habitat." I thought that was the end of it. Molly was gone, her stuff was gone, Lex was dealing with her own relationship drama, and I could finally start moving on with my life. I should have known better. 3 days later, my phone rang. It was Rita. "You listen to me, you piece of garbage!" Rita's voice came through the speaker like a sonic weapon. I held the phone away from my ear. "I'm sorry. I can't hear you well. Will you— Don't you dare play dumb with me! I want to know who the hell you think you are. I think I'm someone who broke up with your daughter because she cheated on me. She made one tiny mistake, and you're destroying her life. She slept with another guy. It was just physical. Girls need to have fun before they settle down. So cheating is fun now? Don't get smart with me, young man. My daughter is devastated because of what you put her through. I didn't make her cheat. You threw her out of her own home. I gave her 30 days to find a new place. That's more generous than she deserved. You're a cruel, vindictive man, and my daughter deserves so much better. You're absolutely right. She deserves someone who's okay with cheating. That's not me. You're going to pay for what you've done to my baby. Is that a threat? It's a promise. We're getting a lawyer. Good luck with that." I hung up and immediately called Brian. Brian's response was, "Wait, so she was threatening you because you broke up with her cheating daughter? What a Karen. At least now we know where Molly gets her sense of entitlement from. Apple doesn't fall far from the crazy tree." The next day, Molly called to say her mom wanted to meet, thinking we could work things out. When I declined, she mentioned Rita was hiring a lawyer for emotional distress and pain and suffering. I laughed at the idea of suing someone for breaking up with them. Molly insisted this wasn't funny, and her mom was serious. When I said to let her hire whoever she wanted, she accused me of emotional abuse for ignoring her for a month. 6 months later, the lawsuit was real, and it was spectacular. Molly and Rita had actually hired some ambulance chaser to sue me for $35,000 in damages. Their claim was that I'd caused intentional infliction of emotional distress by breaking up with a cheater. My lawyer destroyed them in depositions. Watching Molly try to explain to a court reporter why I should have stayed with her after she cheated was pure entertainment. Rita's deposition was even better. 3 hours of her explaining why it wasn't a big deal. The case got thrown out before trial. The judge called it frivolous and ordered them to pay my legal fees. They tried to appeal but couldn't find another lawyer willing to take it. Meanwhile, the friendship fallout was ongoing. Lex had been trying to get Kyle back for months, but he kept posting her desperate text to his Instagram story. Last week, she offered to let him cheat on her to make things even. Brian joined us for dinner one night with his own update. Lex had applied to his company and HR called him for a reference check. He told them about her flexible relationship with loyalty. They passed on her application. Molly got a second job to pay the legal fees. Rita took out a loan against her house. Meanwhile, I got promoted at work, and Zoe and I started dating for real. Yeah, the dinner thing turned into something real. We've been together for 8 months now. Turns out having standards actually works. Who knew? Molly tried contacting me a few times after the lawsuit ended. Drunk texts mostly, asking if we could talk like adults. I blocked her number. Last week, Brian was over watching the game when someone started pounding on my door around 9 p.m. We looked through the peephole and saw Molly, clearly hammered, with Lex standing behind her like some kind of emotional support demon. "Open this door, you coward!" Molly screamed. "I know you're in there with that backstabbing slut!" Brian immediately pulled out his phone. "Yeah, this is about to get good. You ruined my life, both of you. She was my friend and you turned her against me." Zoe wasn't even there, but facts weren't important to our drunk visitors. "I'm not leaving until you talk to me. You owe me an explanation." Brian was already dialing 911. "Hi, I'd like to report a disturbance. 2 intoxicated women are banging on my friend's door and making threats." We watched through the peephole as Molly kicked my door and Lex tried to look through the windows. "This is harassment!" Molly yelled. "You can't hide forever." The cops showed up in about 10 minutes. We watched from the window as they talked to Molly and Lex, who were both gesturing wildly and probably explaining why I was the real criminal here. One of the officers came to our door. I opened it with my phone recording. "Are these women bothering you? They've been banging on my door for 20 minutes and making threats." The officer looked tired. "Any restraining orders?" "Not yet, but I'm starting to think I need one." He went back to the squad car where Molly was still arguing with his partner. We couldn't hear what she was saying, but her hand gestures suggested she was explaining how this was all somehow my fault. 20 minutes later, they put Molly in the back of the patrol car. Lex drove away in what looked like an Uber. "Public intoxication and trespassing," the officer explained when he came back. "She'll be out tomorrow, but I'd recommend getting that restraining order." After they left, Brian and I cracked open beers and reviewed the footage. "Dude, this is better than reality TV," he said, watching Molly try to kick down my door in slow motion. She really said she wasn't leaving until I talked to her, and then immediately left when the cops showed up. Classic Molly logic. I sent the video to Zoe, who responded with crying, laughing emojis and, "I can't believe I used to be friends with that psycho." The restraining order got approved the next week. Molly's new address was listed as her mom's house, which explained a lot about her recent behavior. As Brian always says, the trash took itself out. All you had to do was hold the door and call the cops when it tried to come back. The wedding that never happened would have cost me $20,000. The lawyer fees cost me $12,000. Watching my cheating ex-fiancé get arrested for harassing me? Priceless. And somewhere in Miami, Troy is probably still wondering why that crazy girl from the Bachelorette party keeps texting him about boats.